I'm excited to see all of you all here tonight. Welcome. And we've got several people signed up for public comment, which I always enjoy. So thank you all for being here. Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin.
Present.
Ms. Quetch. Here. Mr. Webb.
Here.
Vice Mayor Anderson.
Here.
And Mayor Pillion.
Here. And now I would like to ask Mr. Wayne Austin to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would now like to welcome Associate Pastor Barbara Farmer from Pleasant View Methodist Church to open our meeting with prayer.
Mayor Pillion and council members and audience, it's such an honor to be here and such a pleasure to pray for this very important part of our town and our county. This is where it happens, and I appreciate that. So let's pray. Father, I do indeed thank you for what happens here. I pray tonight, especially on this first council meeting of a brand new historic year, that you would give these persons in front of me great wisdom, that you would fill their hearts with your thoughts, and as issues and items and troubles come before them, that you would give them the wisdom of Solomon to know how to solve and to answer and to plan for our community, this beautiful place that we call home. So Lord, may everything that's spoken here tonight be in line with your plans for this body and for this place where we call home. I thank you for them and ask you to bless them and keep them safe and keep them happy. In the mighty name of Jesus, the one I serve. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Now we need to approve our agenda. I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll go ahead and put that in motion.
Okay, do we have a
Second.
So motion by Vice Mayor Anderson, second by Councilmember Webb. Do we have any discussion? If there's no discussion, will you please call the roll, Kim?
Mr. Austin.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch. Aye. Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Anderson.
Aye.
And Mayor Pillion.
Aye. And now we need to approve our minutes from December 4th, 2023. I will accept a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Austin, a second by Vice Mayor Anderson. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch. Aye. Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Anderson.
Aye.
And Mayor Pillion.
Aye. Now we're moving on to public comment. Please remember that the public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. There's a lighting system up here that will remind you. And just come up and state your name and your address. First on the list, we have Katie Brown.
Good evening. My name is Katie Brown. I live at 254 Valley Street Northeast, and I'm producing artistic director at Barter Theater, and that's why I'm here to give you all just a little bit of an update. We're so pleased to be talking about 2023. We had a really remarkable season. I hoped to be standing in front of you all saying that we had seen over 100,000 patrons this year, and I get to say that we saw over 123,000 people this year. So we're really pleased with that. And you all know what that means to the businesses in this community and the people in this community, so we're so pleased to be a part of that. We're gearing up for 2024. And our season theme is Come Home to Barter. You've probably seen some of the shows but some of the highlights. It's about journeys home with the Wizard of Oz and Trip to Bountiful, or redefining home like in the Shawshank Redemption, celebration of our home here in Appalachia with some Appalachian World premieres, and the story of Johnny Cash. So we're excited to see you all back for that. But the first thing that we want to do to celebrate the season of home is to make our home at the Barter a little bit better, and wanted to tell you a little bit about the refurbishment that is going on. So if you see construction going on over there, that's what that's about. Thanks to our state government and some donors, we are able to replace the seating, redo the carpeting, we're working on the walls, all of those things. If we do our job right, things won't look tremendously different, but they'll be much more comfortable and much more sustainable. So we're excited excited to share that with everybody. It'll be able to be seen by April. So we'll be starting our work at the Little Theater and Smith Theater in February until that space is ready. And another reason that I'm here today is that I'm pleased to introduce Barter's new managing director, Matt Campbell, who will be coming after us. He comes to us from another state theater, the State Theater of West Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you. And so next on our list is Matthew Campbell.
Good evening, Mayor, council people. Thank you so much for having me this evening. Matt Campbell, I'm about to close on a house next week, 1154 Panorama Drive. So I'll be a resident of Abingdon and excited to be here. As Katie mentioned, I'm the new managing director at Barter, coming from the State Professional Theater of West Virginia, Greenbrier Valley Theater in Lewisburg, West Virginia, where I did serve as a planning commissioner for the town of Lewisburg. So I somewhat understand your plight or excitement in what you get to do for this wonderful city. So I thank you for that. I was born and raised in Appalachia, so I grew up in Princeton, West Virginia, which is only about an hour and 20 minutes from here, for those who know where Princeton is. Have a huge heart for the arts in Appalachia, for cultivating economic development in Appalachia, and making sure we're serving our community in the best way possible in a multitude of ways, not just in the arts, but servicing the person who comes here to visit us, the person who lives here and stays with us, and the people we want to be here. So our mission is to do all those things. So I'm so grateful for your support and the town of Abington's support of the Barter Theater for so many years, and the legacy that Barter has been a part of in this town and the state and the county. And so I look forward to working with Katie and the incredible team at Barter to continue that work, and I look forward to working with each of you during that process as well. So thank you so much for your service to the town, and I look forward to our time together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Next on our list is Dixie McVeigh Jolly.
My name is Dixie McVeigh Jolly, and I live at 321 Park Street Southeast, property that I've owned here in town since 1993 and resided there during that time as well. And I'd like to express appreciation to all of you for the opportunity to address you this evening. And I also want to comment, isn't it a great country we live in that we can speak without fear? I viewed the agenda for the meeting this evening, and I saw that the signage application for the resolution for a comprehensive sign is on your list of items to address, and also that there was an easement agreement in the packet as well that outlined on private property designation as having public access by vehicles and pedestrians. And my concern is and has been that by creating roadways for public use by this method, the roadways become thoroughfares, and without the benefit of any official study, and it would have the side effect of putting the town and the town council at risk should there be any sort of accidents or undesirable events, that these in effect become public streets without any sort of traffic study, watershed study or such that I understand is usually done when a street or roadway is established or constructed. I noticed that the verbiage on the agenda says entryway to the shared parking area of the businesses apparently concerned. And I can't help but wonder if this designation of parking areas would not be sufficient and not have to create streets. On another note, I'm wondering about the watershed effect to the town creek. I remembered that it'd been some time since I had a visit by town staff indicating that they would need access across my property to the creek in the near future, and I haven't heard anything since. So I was just wondering about the status of that project. Maybe someone could bring me up to date on that at some point. I still have the survey stakes, the nails, the ribbons, they're all there from when that project was initiated. So that's all I have to say, and I appreciate the opportunity to address you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Mr. Eddie Copenhaver, who's next on our list.
Good evening, council members. Matthew Lane came and spoke last time. Matthew is a really good engineer, but he's into big projects like huge buildings and roadways and stuff like that. And the question came up, would this do any damage to the properties? And he's talked about putting a 4-inch berm around them. This is 4 inches. Now down below me, there was a gentleman named George Rush. And y'all probably don't remember Mr. Rush, but he had a shoe shop on Wall Street. But he was in a wheelchair. And he lived in the first house we're talking about. He was an independent man. He had a farm. He went to work every day. He drove himself around. But he was in a wheelchair. If this berm had been around entirely his house, he couldn't have got in and out. Because the berm has to be a solid level. If there's any dip in the berm where you like roll a wheelchair, put a sidewalk through, then the water's just going to run in there. So really, that's a bit much to ask to go around your house. If you think about stepping over this or driving over this every time you go to your house, it probably wouldn't be the best idea. One of the things that came up with the flooding issue on Preston Street, the dog groom lady below me, she has a flooding problem. It's not part of this at all. I don't know whether the urban pathway was engineered or somebody just said run some asphalt out through here, but it's sloped wrong. And the slope of the urban pathway is what runs water into her house. It has nothing to do with this. All this water is coming from Colonial Road. And there was a move about moving from one drainage basin to another. We're only moving water a couple of 100 feet. So I just don't see the problem, and really to make people step over that every time they come in and out of the house. We're going to put up 240 feet of 4-inch asphalt around these houses, and I'm only asking for 24 foot of 2-inch. So mine is like 20 times cheaper. And I don't really know where to go from there, but, I'm not going to give up on trying to get things fixed. I'm going to keep coming back and asking more and more and more. So thank y'all.
Thank you.
And now we have Mr. Kyle Craig.
Kyle Craig, I'm representing the Veterans Advisory Board, just bringing an update. In 2023, the Veterans Advisory Board continued to reinforce that veterans are part of the community, whether as a value add at Plum Alley Days, townwide trick or treat, a resource for Battle of the Badges Blood Drive, Day of Service, and celebrity bagging, or most importantly, as the stars of the show, promoting area veterans at the Field of Flags, the Town Christmas Parade, or the Festival of Trees. Festival of Trees, we set up a veterans tree and we put replica ID tags, left blank ones there. We had over 82 tags filled out, put on our veterans tree, local veterans, visiting veterans. In March, we began a veterans breakfast meeting to entice area veteran participation. So far, it's been well received. Additionally, we began making inroads with our most seasoned veterans at Commonwealth and Deer Meadows facilities, including Veterans Day recognition ceremonies. We made contact and participated in veteran events in Russell County and with the ROTC cadets at Emory and Henry. We were honored by this town council with 6 proclamations supporting veteran issues. The team logged over 850 volunteer hours representing the Veterans Advisory Board. Couple that with all our members belong to numerous volunteer organizations, it's a fairly solid achievement. The highlight of the year was the absolute Grand Slam Purple Heart event that Lynn Bennett and Mel Schwartzstein planned and executed. If there was any room for improvement, it would be in local veteran attendance. Our goal for 2024 is to find a way to re-energize our local VSOs, our veteran service organizations. These organizations are the key to community integration, education, and community collaboration in recognizing and honoring our area veterans. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we move on to proclamations, of which we have none. So now we have a public hearing, and I do not see that anyone is signed up to speak at the public hearing. This hearing concerns a proposed amendment that includes additions to revenue from grants, interest on ARPA funds, and an insurance claim. The total general fund budget amendment will increase the budgeted expenditures and offsetting revenues by $1,050,849.43. And if Mr. Trotman would like to comment, he's welcome to do so.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Yes, this amendment addresses the fact that we had additional revenue that had come in that we had not originally anticipated. The bulk of which is $1 million, which was from the insurance claim in the tragic accident with most recently. And so we've received the funds from the insurance company, and that the associated expenditure, of course, will be the replacement for that fire truck, which hopefully we'll be able to see later on around May or June perhaps. We had some other grants. As you may know, we've been focusing on reaching out and looking for additional grants for the town, which has been met with some success. We recently received some additional funding for a litter prevention grant, so $5,800 was unexpected that we got to help with that. As you know, we had a tremendous tree giveaway program this year, and we received additional funding for that, and that again was a great success in getting trees out to all the citizens in the town. In addition, we had $14,000, it was actually $14,400 from Norfolk Southern for a fire prevention program. So that was additional funds, so we'll be having some expenditures associated with that. The tourism center, the Welcome Center and the tourism shop have been selling t-shirts and mugs. That's been going extraordinarily well, but there's the associated expense with that we didn't budget. So we budgeted for a small revenue line with an associated expenditure, but we've sold a lot more, so we have the expenditures associated with that as well. So that's it should be a net positive, but we're addressing that. And then also on the recirculation tank, it had been raised in a previous meeting about the size of the recirculation tank, and so the town manager and others went out and found that the ability to increase that size. It does come with an extra an extra $11,000 for that larger tank. And so this budget would propose to use ARPA interest as we did for the initial 150. So that's what this sum total of this amendment would be. And just as a point of note, since we are using ARPA interest, and as we have discussed before, this is not an ARPA expenditure as it relates to what we need to report to the Treasury. This is interest that we have earned on that money, the tranches that we've received from the Treasury. And to date, we've received about $360,000 in ARPA interest. So even after we've used some for the recirculation tank, we're still going to have about $200,000 as of right now, $200,000 in interest that we could transfer over to the general fund on an as-needed basis. And we'll continue to earn interest for the rest of the year as well.
Well, is this the total cost of the new fire truck?
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually, the cost of the new truck, I believe, Chief, it's a little less, isn't it? $950?
Sorry, I would have yelled, but I've been sick and you would be able to hear me. The cost of the new fire truck was $981,000, and that's just for the truck, not the equipment.
Okay.
We're still waiting on the insurance company. We're waiting on two invoices, and then that part of that will be done. So, but the cost of the truck was $981. The cost of loose equipment's going to be around $30,000 to $40,000,
Okay.
but all that's covered by insurance.
Good.
And we have received the $1 million already. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
So no one signed up for public comment, but if anyone would like to speak during public comments, I will open the public comments. Or the public hearing. So if no one wants to speak, then we will now close the public hearing. Moving along on our agenda, we have a resolution to approve a comprehensive sign at property located at 370 East Main Street, Abingdon, Virginia. Tax map 013-1-82, advertising the entryway to the shared parking area of Sweet Bay Brewing Company, a bike shop, an adventure retail store, and the Girl and the Raven. And we have Mayana Rice, who is our Assistant Town Manager and Director of Community Development, here to explain this resolution to us.
Good evening. I will kind of just back up a little bit so that if anyone's listening at home or is in the audience and doesn't understand what we're doing, we can explain it. So one of the items that we allow in the town through a special use permit process is a comprehensive sign plan. And so those are meant for a variety of businesses that are all working together as one development. In general, you would often see it with a new development, so a new subdivision, or maybe it's a new shopping plaza, and so you get that master sign plan for the area. With this project, they are specifically looking at a redevelopment. So they're taking multiple structures that have been there for some time, and they're looking to combine them all into a unified plan. With that, they had to go through a process on 8/28 with the Planning Commission, and they presented their master sign plan. With that, they got approval through the Planning Commission, and they had a number of conditions, quite a few, to meet. And so they came in front of you on 9/5, they presented their request, and you all recommended to table it through a motion until they came back with more information. They came back on 9/21, and through further discussion, the town council asked that the applicants actually obtain internal easements to verify that this was one unified project. So it's not a scattering of buildings, we're now one project. The easements have been obtained. So in your packet, you'll see that they obtained the easements between each of the property owners. A couple of clarifications is that these easements that they've obtained through the property, they have done on their own, their own reconnaissance. So they aren't creating a road. They're basically establishing a relationship between all these properties. Regardless of a motion for approval or denial of a special use permit, they do have the right to work cohesively through an internal agreement for their parking areas. So tonight, their request is still to have you all review the comprehensive sign plan and make a recommendation on the special use permit. At this point, the conditions that were addressed by the Planning Commission have been completed for the majority. They did create a permanent easement between the parcels. They have created a maintenance agreement between the parcels for that easement. The things that they have not completed yet are some things like the final design and materials of their parking lots, some removal of signage, and those things obviously would not be done unless you all make a recommendation for approval. So with that, they are here tonight making that request, and we do, if you have any other concerns or questions, myself or either our chief of police, because I know there was a question about whether or not the internal movement of traffic and accidents that occur on private property, if there is some liability with that for the town, and/or any kind of questions with the fire department as they're in that general locality. We have both of the chiefs here tonight who could answer questions as well. So, are there any questions for me at this time?
Well, I'll just ask about, you said the liability. There is no liability on private property.
Correct.
Okay.
So this, while, you know, it has the look and feel of connecting them in a linear pattern, the connection between these buildings are really no different than the Kroger parking lot. So all of those, you know, as you traverse across all of theirs, there's paths that create, you know, easements between all of those, but that is not a public street. So they are not creating a public street with these easements.
And just to clarify, you know, I just want to make sure everybody understands, the town does not own this proposed easement right away. That's all private property.
That is correct. So it is all private property, and in the future, as probably most people in the audience, as well as you all know, if there was an issue on Park Street, we would be able to study it. So we have, you know, engineering on staff, and we could also hire a consultant. So we'll take Valley Street, for instance. You know, we had concerns, people brought up concerns about traffic and speeding. And so we basically took a multi-prong approach to that, and we added the parking spaces specifically with the lines, which helped. We also added more enhanced crosswalks at the appropriate locations. And as most of you probably know, and hopefully you're going slow enough so it doesn't yell slow down at you, but the last piece to that was actually adding some signage that indicates how fast you're driving, and then if you're above 25, it tells you to slow down. So we can, in the future, if there was a concern about the traffic on Park Street, we could ultimately do some studies. Now, I will say it's a mixture of uses there. We do have, you know, 2 emergency management types of facilities that are in the area. We have a new multifamily facility coming on board. You know, at the end of the street, we have commercial as well. So, you know, there is quite a mix of uses. It's not just a neighborhood that Park Street runs through. But we could study it in the future.
That's a good question. Thank you.
All right, well, I will step aside. The applicants are here as well if you wish to speak to any of them.
So just to clarify, and I maybe should have said this before you sat down, but just to clarify, we are voting on the signage. Sorry, Mayana.
No, just want to speak into the microphone.
Yes.
Yes, so your, tonight, so the 2 times that they came here before you prior, there was a little bit of back and forth because the conditions hadn't, the conditions that the planning commission had requested had not been completed. Now that they're completed, and these are joined as one comprehensive area, you are voting on the signage.
So we are not voting on opening or closing Park Street. We are voting on the signage.
You are not voting
Okay.
on opening or closing Park Street. You are not voting on the internal movement of the traffic. You are not voting on whether or not the fences stay up. That is all private property. You're voting on the comprehensive sign plan tonight.
Okay. Okay. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for the clarification.
Well, I can make that motion that we move forward with the sign.
And I'll second that. I do want to say to the property owners, I think it's a lovely sign design. I think you went out of your way to try to accommodate the town in an amicable way. And I think it's really an outstanding sign, so kudos.
So we have a motion by Ms. Quetch. We have a second by Mr. Webb. Is there any discussion on this issue?
Madam Mayor, let me make a few comments about it. First of all, I agree totally with Mr. Webb. I think it's a beautiful sign. I think that it also addresses issues regarding what we've described as sign clutter, and consolidates those into a very nice project that they have proposed. I would further say that certainly from the standpoint of the town, I think it's important for the continuation of the businesses and to encourage businesses. I want to make it clear, particularly to Ms. McVeigh, as she spoke to us a few moments ago, and to other people that have commented to me since our last discussion of this, we are only voting on the signage issue tonight as to whether or not those are appropriate. The second issue that I saw, of course, as I looked at this, dealt with the easements. And this is private property, as has been correctly pointed out tonight. And those who own private property, such as these folks that are here tonight, they have the right to make whatever easements that they want on their own property, and I understand that. However, having said those things, and I would certainly feel compelled to vote in favor of the motion of the approval of the signage, I don't want it to be misinterpreted that I have approval or would give approval of my one vote to the opening of Park Street through this project. We discussed it at one other meeting, and I won't bore everyone with the concerns that I see, but we're coming off of a state-maintained road onto perhaps a gravel parking lot that is not delineated in any fashion as a roadway, and going to connect it to another state-maintained roadway. And I don't find that to be proper, and would not be in favor of doing that. Park Street is a dead-end street. Maintenance of the dead-end street stops just as it gets to the brewery property. And from my perspective, should continue in that fashion. But again, that's not what's before council tonight, and I fully recognize that. So if that issue comes up, and I would not want to be misleading to anyone, it's going to be expensive for these folks to place that sign there at Park Street. And you know, it could well be that you're placing a sign at a dead-end street. And I don't want to mislead anyone in that respect if that comes before council at a later time.
Thank you for saying that, Mr. Ross.
Yes.
Okay, is there any more discussion? If there is no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Anderson.
Aye.
And Mayor Pilley.
Aye. Okay. We have no second reading of ordinances, no bids.
You got the first reading first.
Oh, look. I'm sorry, I skipped right past, I'm on the wrong page. Pardon me. Two agendas in front of me. Okay, so we do have a first reading of an ordinance for a proposed amendment including the addition to revenue from grants, interest on ARPA funds, and an insurance claim. The total general fund budget amendment will increase the budgeted expenditures and offsetting the revenues by $1,050,849.43. And so I am looking for a motion to approve the proposed amendment as presented and approve on first reading to take effect immediately.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
I'll second that.
And waive the second reading.
And waive the second reading.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Quetch to approve the proposed amendment as presented and approve on first reading to take effect immediately and to waive the second reading. And that was seconded by Vice Mayor Anderson. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Anderson. And Mayor Pilley.
Aye. So, with that, we have no second reading of ordinances or bids. And we will move ahead to miscellaneous business and communications from the town manager.
Yes, Happy New Year, a couple days late. I just wanted to say, one of the things that's nice having a fire chief that has grown up in this organization and grown up here. I've worked with a lot of fire chiefs and stuff throughout my career, and what's nice with this terrible situation we had, I've ordered fire trucks before. He has a great relationship with some folks, and there's not many regular production units, but he was able to, he knows what we need. Because if you let people do it, they'll order like the fanciest one-off thing with $17 million worth of gadgets. He ordered the fire truck we need, and he was able to locate it. And crossing our fingers, sometime around May, we should have it, which is amazing. There's usually about right now, because of some of the back orders on it, there's a couple-year back order. So just fortunately that, by keeping it real and ordering what we need, not what we think we could have if we had an unlimited checkbook. But they provide an outstanding service. We're just glad to have them. So, other than that, I appreciate everybody that came out to the Christmas parade. I'm sorry it rained on them, but I thought the absolute coolest thing to see was the school buses with the horns coming out the windows. That was absolutely neat. So, thanks for everybody that did come out.
Thank you. Now, we have council member reports. Does anyone have a report to give?
Well, we've had our first infrastructure meeting on Thursday with our new members. I'm excited about our infrastructure committee. And I also want to thank those that also left the committee. Janet Woolwine, Charlene Trulick, and Charlie Fugit. We'll miss them too.
We had our first historic preservation meeting last week. I thought it went very well. We had a lot of people in attendance with that. Mayana and Gabe and everyone on that committee. We've been working with rewording some of the old language that's in the historic preservation. We've come up with some ideas with more images, just better things for people to towards the historic committee in order for us to do our job to say yes or to say no. So big kudos to Mayana and Gabe for everything that they're doing for the historic preservation in Televac.
Anything else? Okay. And in our packet, so the next thing that we have is appointment to boards and committees. But do we have applications?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, so that means that we need some applications. We need some applications for community members to serve on these boards. And you can go to the town website, you can apply. It's not a huge time commitment. It's a great way for you to find out what's going on in your community, to be active in your community, to kind of have your feet on the ground and know what's going on. So it's an easy way to be involved in your local government. So I would encourage anybody who's interested to apply for some of these boards and commissions. We need to fill a vacancy on the Abingdon Redevelopment and Housing Authority and the Board of Zoning Appeals and on the Tree Commission.
2 vacancies on that now.
I'm sorry?
2 vacancies on BZA.
There's 2 vacancies on the Board of Zoning Appeals. So we have 1 on the Redevelopment and Housing Authority, 2 on the Board of Zoning Appeals. And I understand the Board of Zoning Appeals doesn't meet terribly often, only when there is an appeal. And the Tree Commission. And I have served on the Tree Commission, and I will say I learned large amounts of information that I never knew. It's way more interesting than it sounds, I promise. It's a really cool commission to serve on. And then finally,
somebody in the audience's wife knows a lot about trees.
Pass
that along.
Yeah, it's a fun commission.
So we can reappoint to the Tree Commission in District 3.
We can reappoint Stuart Hale.
Yes.
And then we can also reappoint Vice Mayor Anderson, who is also eligible to serve an additional term for the District 3 Governmental Cooperative. So, if we need to go into closed session to discuss this, we can, or we can entertain a motion to reappoint Stuart Hale to the Tree Commission, who is eligible to serve an additional term. And we can, at the same time, reappoint Vice Mayor Anderson to the District 3 Governmental Cooperative.
I would so move that we reappoint each of those.
And I'll second that.
So we have that motion made by Mr. Austin and seconded by Ms. Quetch. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, Kim, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
And Mayor Pilkey?
Aye. And let me also say that you can go on the website at any time and fill out the application, and it will stay in our files. So if something opens up, then Kim will call you and see if you're still interested. So, you know, you never know when something will open up. So if there's something you're interested in, go ahead and fill out the application, and we'll keep it on file for when we need it.
This is like Mark, so he closes, when do you close?
Next week.
Okay.
So heard.
Okay.
No pressure.
If we have no further business, then I will adjourn. Oh,
Am I out of place? Am I out of order?
yes, you could, yes.
Well,
What, no, is it out of order?
that is out of order.
Oh, it is out of order. I'm sorry.
You can come back
It's all
next
right.
time and put this out.
You can come up in 3 seconds and say what you want to say.
So I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.